Just added all the bones in. I also renamed everything so it had some sort of useful name. Renamed all the points. Probably should have done some of this ahead of time. If I'd named all of the bones initially, and then in our script that created all the point helpers and all the constraints, actually had it name the points based on the name of the bone as it went, would have been a lot easier. In this case, I just tacked a PT on the end of each point helper instead of trying to parse out the bone portion of it, the BN portion, which I normally do actually. But I just went through and I actually wrote a script. I selected all the bones and pulled the position constraint node from each of them and renamed it that way. So did a quick little script that got through it pretty quick. It is actually a very fast one, and can be seen right here. So you've got Forex and selection do, and I threw a try catch in case I grabbed some of the wrong bones. The point, go into each bone, get the position controller, and use get node command from the controller, the position constraint, and the first one in the list, which is the only one. Get that node and then rename it based on the name of the bone that we're currently looping through. And I threw a catch after it. So that was a really quick, fast one I used just to speed up that workflow a little bit. And of course I use the rename objects utility to be able to go in and rename all the bones en masse and give them some sort of reasonably logical naming conventions right and left and around the mouth and whatnot, and around the eyes and everything, so that we could pick and choose them by name a bit easier. So in Skin, I reset all those vertices in the front, and what I did is I simply went in and I set up all of the envelopes, and I just gave them this completely default size and copied and pasted that envelope to every single joint that I've added. And so there's lots of overlap, and it's all sort of soft and gushy and doesn't work very well. But I think it'll get the point across when you see how it works already. If we go down and we start grabbing some point helpers and moving them around, you can see that we're already getting some nice soft facial distortions from pulling these control points. Obviously there's too much overlap in some of them, but I think you can get the idea of once we work on the weighting and go in and start doing some paint weighting and weight the bones properly, we'll have quite a nice setup for being able to deform the face of these joints. If we take a look at the eyebrows up top, they work great, and again, you know, they're deforming too much, but it looks like we'll be able to get some pretty nice distortions of the brows out of these controls, and that's the whole trick. So it looks like we've already got some good placements of joints, and we should be able to get some of the looks that we want. And one of the advantages of doing a bone-based rig, or a rig as opposed to a morph-based system, is that with the morphing, once you've created your morph targets and you've got your targets, even with the blended system, there is a limitation as to what you can achieve with it, especially when morph targets start to interact and sort of crush into each other. It's nice because it's easy to set up, it's easy to control the setup of it for the morph-based system. And it's probably actually faster to set up than the bone-based system. However, the bone-based system actually gives you almost limitless control if it's done correctly. It has to be, you have to take a lot into account to make sure that you've got it working correctly. But essentially you can get a lot of control over it if you build your control system correctly. And what we're going to do for this character is we're actually going to do a sort of a layered control approach so that we've actually got several layers. It's often a case where you want to be able to create a smile, but if we had a control for every single joint intersection around here, and we had to pull every single one of them to get that smile, it'd be a lot of work to get it. There are some basic overall functions we need, like the jaw opening, so that when we open the jaw, it's one control, and the mouth opens correctly. Being able to pull the corners of the mouth around, pull it into a smile, and control some basic top-level controls to get overall features to deform correctly. Then we're going to set it up so that we've got sub control systems where we can grab every single joint intersection and tweak it individually. This way we have sort of a layered approach to the rig, the facial rig. The animator can pose quickly out the main poses, and then go down to the second level and go in and tweak it and make sure that it does exactly what it needs to do. So you've got really nice control over it. So I'm not going to work anymore on skinning at this point. I'm actually going to go in and tack in some controls so that we can start manipulating the face. I'm going to start with basically the top level, and then go and put the finite controls in after that, which is really just going to be somewhat of a mundane task of going in and tacking one onto each an individual joint system around as we go. But first off, I'm going to get the top layer control system working so that it actually deforms really nicely.